I don't want to spend too much time on this story. I really don't, because I don't know the truth or the extent of it. But I was attacked and I was called an anti-Semite, and I am resolutely pro-Israel for the record. I love Israel. I want them to win and finish the war. But I was smeared and slandered by many people as being called an anti-Semite and conspiracy theorist for what is now reported in the Jerusalem Post. The IDF knew of Hamas's plan to kidnap 250 before the October 7th attack. The IDF had precise information about Hamas intentions, but due to prevailing conceptions in the security establishment and possibly negligence by officials, the warning signs were not acted on. I went on the Patrick Bet David podcast. In fact, we can get that tape, Ryan. Can we get that tape, Ryan? Where I went on the Patrick Bet David podcast back in October, and I did not know all the information, and I have been in Israel's corner and remained the entire time. And it said, I do not believe what we are being told, and I believe that they might have had a heads up. Was there a stand down order? And I was attacked by every possible direction. But now, this according to the Jerusalem Post, a newly surfaced document has revealed the IDF and intelligence systems have detailed the knowledge of Hamas's plan to raid Israel and kidnap before the October 7th massacre. The document was distributed a couple weeks prior, and they knew that an attack was coming. But I'm doing this for my own sake, to clear my name, because I was so viciously attacked. I was smeared and slandered. For a month, I was called an anti-Semite. And it's not an exaggeration. Washington Times, I could go through all the different publications that published that nonsense. There was a document titled Detailed End-to-End Raid Training was distributed on September 19, 2023, and described in detail the series of exercises conducted by Hamas elite units. These exercises included raiding military posts and kibbutzim, collective communities in Israel, kidnapping soldiers and civilians, and maintaining the hostages once they were in the Gaza Strip. The report by Can News stated, quote, security sources told Can News that the document was known to intelligence leadership, at least in the Gaza division. The Jerusalem Post reports that warning signs of the October 7th attack were not acted on. The IDF had precise information about Hamas's intentions, but due to prevailing conceptions within the security establishment and possible negligence by security officials, the warning signs were not acted upon. The report further detailed that Israeli intelligence officials monitored the exercises and documented the steps Hamas planned to take after breaching Israeli territory and taking over military posts. The expected number of hostages, according to the document, was between 200 and 250 people. Quote, Israeli intelligence officials who monitored the exercise detailed in the document all the steps that were taken. The expected number of hostages, 200 to 250 people. So then the General Staff Investigation Team is expected to present initial findings from the failure to the Chief of Staff in the coming weeks as the country seeks to understand how a lapse in security could occur despite having detailed advanced knowledge of the enemy's plans. So the Israeli government knew that the attack was going to happen. That is now what Jerusalem Post is saying. The IDF is very, very close to victory. So this timing of this story is quite interesting, probably from the liberal arm. So part of the government knew. The question is, was Bibi Netanyahu briefed on this? I don't know. I have no idea. But it is something. It's really quite interesting. This is me on the Patrick Bet David show. And I say this again. I want Israel to finish the war, to win the war. All in. But I said what I said, and what I said is true. And it is a learning lesson. That when somebody says something that is rooted in shared experience, and he's also on your side. I was attacked by so many conservatives as being a conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones type. I don't even know what that means. This was me on the Patrick Bet David show. It was the #1 most viral clip for almost 3 to 4 days straight. Play cut 101.
How did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled.
So that was received very poorly when I said it. And I'm just reading from the Jerusalem Post. This is not some sort of fringe thing. Again, they are liberal, so they're doing this to undercut the Israeli war effort. And again, I just call balls and strikes. This is the Socratic method. We want to get towards the truth. By the way, since I love Israel, I want to get closer to the truth. But it's very, very logical to have an inquiry. We don't know for a fact that there was a stand down order. We don't know that. But we did say that the country was a fortress. And I cannot repeat enough that how attacked I was. I want to say this again. This is the Jerusalem Post that they wrote here. Quote, the country seeks to understand how such a lapse in security could occur despite having detailed advanced knowledge of the enemy's plans. This was not a surprise attack. It wasn't. That's what the Jerusalem Post is contending here, is that the parts of the Israeli government knew that this was going to happen. I don't know who. I certainly don't know why, and I don't want to speculate as to why. But October 7th has changed the Middle East permanently. It's changing parts of our country. This is very important that we find out what the heck happened leading up to. Who knew that this was going to happen? Why wasn't this shared? We need resignations at a minimum, and maybe people go to jail for allowing this to happen. And maybe, does this go all the way up to the top government of Israel? I don't know. I certainly hope not. And I say that as somebody who is cheering for them to win the war. We should be pro-Israel. They are a beacon of civilization against madman, modern-day Nazis. We want accountability, and we want the truth. And the truth, I don't know what that is, but according to new reports, is this was not a sneak attack. It was not a surprise attack. It was something that parts, at least, of the Israeli government knew was going to happen. The question is, did they let it happen?